And now for something totally new and different. In our first season, we focused on the business of college admissions. Well, our sound designer and engineer, David Goodman, co-produces his own podcast. It's called Dear College. Hey, David.
Hey, Kirk.
Tell us about this side project you've got going.
Well, what we do is we talk to high school seniors and recent graduates, and we ask them to read their college application essays and their scholarship essays.
I love this because it's such a simple idea.
It's very simple at its core, and we did some research. Nobody else is doing this.
That no one else has thought of this
on a grand level.
We should have thought of this.
Well, what we like about it is that it's a real snapshot of these students, their aspirations, their challenges, and how they are thinking, which is so important because they're a rising generation. They're going to be taking care of all of us, especially when the Social Security system tumbles.
And you capture them at this moment, like when all these kids are trying to thread this needle, right? Our society has put so much pressure on this moment. Like, you would think that choosing the quote-unquote right college is the make or break moment for your life, even though, as we've exposed, hopefully in this podcast, it's not. College is important, but there are a lot of great schools out there. But you really capture the emotions and the feelings of this particular very American moment.
Mm-hmm. And another thing I really like about listening to these students is how they demonstrate their resilience and, as you just said, their exuberance about going to college.
Right. So, David, what was your inspiration? Kind of take me back. Where did the idea come from?
So the Reader's Digest version is my co-producer, Steve Morantz, had written a book about a student at Fenway High in Boston, and my son had gone there. One thing led to another, and we decided to produce a feature on the school, which has a very special civic-minded and community-oriented approach to learning.
And it's right there in the shadows of Fenway Park.
It used to be.
Right. Okay.
Now it's actually on Mission Hill for those people who know the geography of Boston. Eventually, the college advisor at Fenway mentioned these essays that she's reading year after year and how profound some of her students' admissions essays were. And that's where the podcast took off.
All right. And we're going to hear one of those stories right now. Who are you introducing us to?
So this episode features Jenessa Otabor. She's a 2023 graduate of Fenway High, and she's now a student at Howard University in Washington, D.C. She describes a little bit about how you've been saying in the podcast, students have to speak up for themselves. We recorded her last year reading her essay.
Okay, let's take a listen to Jenessa.
Dear College, you never know how much a stranger's words can impact your life. During my junior year, I decided to take a college course. My hands were dripping with sweat as I walked through the mass of Suffolk University students. My heart felt like it would come out of my chest, and the walls were closing in on me until I had no space to move. Walking into class, I felt unprepared and intimidated, like I did not belong. As if being the only high school student there was not bad enough, I had never taken a psychology course before, and as I looked around the room, I did not see anyone that looked like me. This was going to be a long semester, I thought to myself. As the professor jumped into the logistics of class, thoughts of self-doubt and discouragement were pounding against my brain and smashing my self-confidence to a pulp.
Welcome to Dear College, a podcast featuring the hopes and aspirations of high school students and the challenges they encounter on their path to higher education. Spoiler alert, Jenessa Otabor, a 2023 graduate of Fenway High in Boston, Massachusetts, finds an ally and inner strength in this story, written for her college application essay.
Each class, I would sit in the front by myself, hiding behind my computer and notes. Every time I thought I had the confidence to answer the professor's questions or integrate myself into the discussion, the words would rise up and be at the tip of my lips, screaming, "Let me out!" But I pushed it back down and kept my ideas trapped inside, not letting them out to shine. This became a routine, and I was starting to become accustomed to it.
Under the circumstances, I think it's safe to say that many of us would sit in the back of that room and otherwise hide until we've surveilled the situation and deemed it safe. The speed at which that happens often depends on our personality. Do you consider yourself an extrovert or an introvert?
Well, when I came into high school, I was very much an introvert. Like I would not really like put myself into conversations because I'm usually like a really shy person when I go into like new spaces. So it was more of like directed effort to like put myself in those situations where I was uncomfortable. But I came in very introverted because this was like a new space that I'm in and I didn't know anybody. And this was like a more advanced class. So I didn't know what to expect. Like I was scared of saying the wrong answer and everything. But this made me like put myself in uncomfortable situations and step out the box. So on that spectrum, like right now, I would say I'm pretty extroverted because like I know that in order to I guess reap the benefits or like get anything out of these new environments that I'm in, I have to put myself out there, meet new people, get people to know me so that those like bonds can form and those experiences can be made. One day, Christina, a student who usually sat a few tables behind me, sat next to me. As the class went on, she raised her hand with determination and confidence. I admired her intelligence and insight, and I was awestruck. Oh, how I longed for that to be me. She continued to sit next to me and come in with that same bright aura that mesmerized the whole class. One day, I wanted to contribute so badly, but every time I raised my hand, it seemed the professor would look over me. I put my hand down slowly, like a crab retreating into its shell, but Christina said, "Girl, raise your hand higher," then called out to the professor. Jenessa had something to say. She has been raising her hand. I felt heard and advocated for. I said what had been on my chest, and the professor said, "Yes, I was waiting for someone to say it. I am glad you brought that up." This point, started a whole new discussion in the class that engaged everyone.
College admissions counselors advise applicants to say just how a particular experience changed them. With that in mind, Dear College co-producer Steve Morantz asked Janessa what she wanted readers to take away from her essay.
What message are you sending to college admission officials about who you are?
It's telling them that I'm a person who is passionate about investing in the future. And not only that, but I'm a person who, like, I don't want the status quo, I guess you can say. Like, I'm always looking for a way to better not only myself, but the community. Like, I didn't have to do a dual enrollment class and I didn't have to put myself out there in the psychology class, but I did because I knew that I would get something from that. And I did get something from that, which was like being able to like articulate myself in these places where I wasn't the majority and I was able to like apply that information to the things that I was learning in my humanities class, which is really cool. So, yeah, I would say that the message that I sent to the colleges was that I'm a person who's invested in the community and who wants to work for a better future and passing the torch on to the future, as well as put myself in new situations and like learn from them. In the next class, we played Jeopardy to prepare for our next exam. I was grouped with the girls sitting behind me, and we looked at each other in awkward silence. Every time it was our turn to respond to a question, we let the time run out, forfeiting our points to the next group. But Christina's words kept ringing in my head. I raised my hand and said the answers, then ding ding, I was correct. My team erupted in applause, and I felt so proud of myself. I confided in and connected with Christina on a different level because she was a fellow Black woman, and I felt understood. She showed me that anything was possible and that I hold weight in society. I participated and made my voice heard in class because I know that my ideas are valid. They are a spark, just waiting to be ignited. I learned to speak, even if my voice shakes. The way society is constructed can silence women of color. Being one of two Black women in this class was intimidating, but speaking our truth is even more important. Using our voice to share our experiences and insight with others makes an impactful difference. This is what the world needs, and I vow to be that same advocate for the next Black girl so she can feel comfortable in herself to engage with the world.
Janessa's essay about speaking up and speaking out helped her get into Howard University in Washington, D.C. She told associate producer Margot Ferris that when Black women advocate for better health treatment, too often their concerns are dismissed.
In your essay, you mentioned society is set up to silence women of color in many ways. And I was wondering, in your experience, how has this cropped up for you? And then what do you wish more non-Black people knew? Like, how can we support you?
There's not like a specific moment, but like a trend that I've seen is that most of the times, Black women's inputs are not really taken as seriously. Or, for example, like in the area that I'm interested in, which is like maternal health, when Black women express their pain or their discomfort or their symptoms to doctors or healthcare professionals, they're seen as like they're overreacting, or they're just looking for an excuse to get more pain medication, which leads to like a worse progression of their disease or something like that. Just them not being taken seriously and their input getting undermined by people who should be helping them, people who should be like collaborating with them. And to the second part of your question, what should non-Black people do? I guess I would say like education, trying to like educate yourself on these problems, and not only educate yourself, but get your education, if you can, from like people who do experience these things, which are like Black women in the Black community. And yeah, advocation as well. If you see something, say something. Like if you see an injustice happening, insert yourself, because you have the privilege to get people to listen to you.
This is Dear College, a production of IBIS Media, the independent broadcast information service. Our team includes Steve Morantz, Margot Ferris, and me, Dave Goodman. Music by Left Roman, a.k.a. MIT Comparative Media Studies professor Ian Condry. Thanks to GBH News and the folks who make College Uncovered for their support. A member of the class of 2027, Jenessa told us she's studying clinical laboratory science on a pre-health track. Hospitals often employ grads with this degree as diagnostic lab technicians. A PhD or medical school may be in her future as well. In 2023, the Supreme Court severely limited affirmative action in college admissions, but allowed for school officials to take into account the consequences of race and class, as expressed in college essays. Jenessa offered advice to students preparing for college and writing that first admissions essay.
I would say don't I guess put your eggs all in one basket. Like I came into senior year thinking that I was gonna write about one specific thing, and my heart was set on it. But like this essay that I have now, or that I ended up submitting to the colleges, was, I don't want to say it was way better, but it definitely showed a part of me that the other essay wouldn't have showed a part of me. So I would say don't be open to writing about everything. Don't limit yourself to only having one draft. Have 10 drafts if you want to, but obviously pace yourself. But have as many drafts as you need, because the first one probably won't be the one, or it could be the one, but you definitely have different options, and have a lot of different people looking over your draft. But remember that this is your voice that you're showing to the colleges, so don't let other people's voice. If you think that what they're saying doesn't apply to you, or that you don't want to follow it, you don't have to follow it. You just take what they say with a grain of salt, and use it as I guess a steering point. Don't let them overtake your voice, because at the end of the day, it is your paper and it's your personality that's gonna win the colleges over.
That was Jenessa Otabor reading her college admission essay on the podcast Dear College, which I'm proud to say is co-produced by our mix engineer, David Goodman. You can find more of these remarkable students and their essays at dearcollegepodcast.org.